Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror franchise movie review video as part of my current January 2024 series where I'm taking a look at all the movies from a horror franchise. And for this series, we're doing the Omen franchise. I already reviewed the original Omen movie from 1976. That's up on my channel if you want to check it out. Today, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the first sequel to that movie from 1978, and that is Damien, Omen II. The first time was only a warning, is the tagline. Damien returns to fulfill his destiny. So yeah, Damien Omen 2 is a movie I can honestly say I'd never seen before. First time watch for me. Never really heard anything about this movie or the other sequels for that matter. So I was interested in checking it out, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. Get my notes here. So Damien, Omen 2 is a 1978 supernatural horror film directed by Don Taylor and is the second installment in the Omen series. Set 7 years after the first film, it follows a now pubescent Damien Thorn as he begins to realize his destiny as the Antichrist. So basically, the movie opens like a week after the events of the first movie, the ending events of the first movie, and you have this archaeologist Carl Bugenhagen, who learns that Damien is still alive, and he asks a friend to deliver a box to Damien's new guardian, explaining that Damien is the Antichrist. And the box contains the seven daggers needed to kill Damien. Um, he shows them a picture or a painting that shows Damien's face on a mural, and they both end up getting buried alive as the ruins that they're in, where this picture is in this box, collapses, of course. So then it's 7 years later, and Damien's 12 years old now, living in Chicago with his industrialist uncle Richard Thorne and Richard's wife Anne. He gets along well with his cousin Mark, and they're both enrolled at a military academy. But he's despised by Richard's aunt Marion, who sees him as a bad influence on Mark and threatens to cut Richard out of her will if he does not separate the two boys. Late one night, she suffers a fatal heart attack after being scared by a raven that appears in her room. So that's kind of the setup and the premise, and then it goes from there for Damien Omen 2 from 1978. As far as the cast goes, we have William Holden as Richard Thorne, Lee Grant as Anne Thorne, Jonathan Scott Taylor as Damien Thorne, Robert Foxworth as Paul Buer, Lou Ayres as Bill Arrington, Atherton, Sylvia Sidney as Aunt Mary, and Nicholas Pryor as Dr. Charles Warren, and Lance Hendrickson as Sergeant Daniel Neff. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for Damien, Omen 2 from 1978. Um, I didn't hate this movie. I think the movie's okay. It's certainly a step down from the first movie. There's no question about that. But I do have things I like about the movie. But overall, as a cohesive classic horror movie, it's definitely not on the same level as the original Omen. So let's start with the things that I liked about Damien Omen 2. I like that there's a lot of connection to the original movie. You know, it isn't like a separate, another universe kind of story or movie here. It actually feels like a continuing overall cohesive narrative from the first movie. It basically starts, as I said, with where the last one left off, and it acknowledges the previous characters, the story of what happened with Damien. And so yeah, I don't know, just I like when movies do that. I like when you have that cohesiveness among sequels. So that's maybe more just a me pro, but I like that this movie did that and that it had those connecting tissues to the first movie. So that was the first thing I noticed. I thought the young actor Jonathan Scott Taylor, who played Damien in this movie, did a great job actually, especially for Damien at this point in his life where he's kind of getting to know who he is. He finds out exactly who he is and why he's there and the emotions that go along with that that need to be portrayed. And I thought this young actor did that, especially as a pre-pubescent, basically. I thought he brought out the right emotions in certain scenes, and the character was well delivered and on point overall in this movie. Um, I thought the kills in the movie were pretty decent, not quite as iconic as the first movie, but there's a couple kills in particular that really stand out to me. One having to do with an elevator cable and a doctor, and then one having to do with a locomotive towards the end of the movie. I thought those two specifically were effective and pretty badass as far as kills go. There's a couple other scenes that were good too, involving deaths. Those scenes, it's not so much the deaths that are great about them, but just for me, like there's one where somebody drowns in like in the winter time, they fall through the ice, and if there's one thing that freaks me out, one place I never want to be, it's like falling through the ice, and then the current carries this character under the ice, so they're kind of doing the whole, tapping on the ice. People on the top are tapping, trying to get them out, and oh man, if anything gives me the willies, it's that kind of a situation. That's just the one thing that the one place I never want to be or have anybody else be that I'm around. It's just terrifying on its face. And then there's also another scene earlier in the movie where I think it's a journalist who ends up getting attacked by a raven. This movie ravens replace Rottweilers basically from the first movie, which is interesting. Obviously, you have that on the cover here. Um, but a raven attacks this woman who pulls over on the highway and blinds her and bloodies her up a bit, and then she can't see, so then an oncoming truck ends up running her over. The kill itself could have been better, but that whole scene, I felt a little bit of that definitely that got me out of my chair a little bit. There's a little bit of suspense there. So yeah, there's definitely moments and scenes in this movie that do stand out. Um, there's also, I have to say, a plot twist involving one of the characters that's revealed at the end of the movie that I felt was delivered effectively. I certainly didn't see it coming, and I was surprised by it. And that doesn't always happen. I mean, usually I can see when a plot twist is revealed, it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of had a feeling. I really didn't see it coming in this movie, so kudos to them for that. I thought they did a good job with that twist. And so yeah, those are my pros for the most part for Damien Omen 2. Getting into the cons, basically, the best way to describe it is this is a lesser version of the first movie. Um, it's more watered down and just a retread of the original Omen movie story where there's a lot of repeated beats. Like the characters basically talking to other characters saying Damien is the Antichrist and you're all in danger. And then, of course, those characters not believing them right away until the proof's in the pudding or right in front of their face towards the end of the movie, and then they have to try to kill him, repeat, repeat, repeat. So that was kind of a disappointment. It would have been nice if they would have had a little bit more there, or they would have taken a different approach to it. But it really is like the first movie in terms of what they're going for, but not delivered nearly as well because the score's not as strong. The suspense and the building of tension certainly not as strong. The kills aren't as strong. So yeah, so that's one thing that was a downer for this movie. There are long scenes as well with dialogue with adults just standing around talking about agriculture and agricultural politics that are involved within this company. And it really bored me at times, to be honest with you. There were really long stretches in this movie that I was kind of bored, particularly in the first half of the movie. And the first movie didn't have that. So that's definitely a con for this movie. Not quite as well paced and well delivered in that pacing. It's a little bit more of a slog. You don't have the mystery of the first movie here either. There's no extra details or revelations about how Damien's going to bring about the end of the world. Not really exploring anything new in this movie. It's again the same repeated narrative from the first movie, just not done as well. Um, the movie misses the element that I really liked from the first movie of all the omens. The In that movie, sort of the pictures of how someone was going to die, basically like the final destination aspect of the Omen movie. And that really led to building up suspense in the first movie, and that was sorely lacking here. I really missed that aspect. I just excuse me. Overall, I just didn't feel the same suspense, sense of dread, or high stakes in this movie. Especially the high stakes related to Damien, because anyone who was stumbling onto any evidence of Damien or found out some small detail about him, even if they were halfway around the world, all of a sudden death would befall them, basically. Um, they'd instantly be killed off. So you don't really feel like there's any real threat to Damien in this movie like you did in the first movie. And I thought that was a real missed opportunity for this movie. But yeah, other than that, guys, I don't really have too much more to say about it. I mean, it's a decent sequel. It's a decent movie. I'll definitely watch it again. It's certainly not horrible, not unwatchable. It's just that when you're coming off watching the original Omen from 1976, which I just did a few days ago, it definitely doesn't hold up to that level. It's not a classic for that reason, obviously. But as a sequel, it's not terrible. And so I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. I think there's some good things here. Like I said, the performance of the young actor that plays Damien is good. A couple of the kills and the kill scenes are good and kind of suspenseful. Um, and the fact that it's a take, they continue from the first movie. They acknowledge the first movie and has that connective tissue. But as I said with my cons, it's just everything's just watered down and not done as well, and it's the story is a retread. So 6.5 out of 10 for Damien Omen 2 from 1978. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of this sequel movie. Do you like it more than I do, less than I do? Why not? Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content, not only this series, but what I have coming out for pretty much all of 2024 yet. Some great stuff out there. So, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. Thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay scared. Bye.